Right now, as you watch this video, the world's worst humanitarian crisis is unfolding in Sudan. And chances are you haven't heard much about it. In October 2025, Yale University's Humanitarian Research Lab released satellite images from the city of al-Fasher in Sudan. What they captured was beyond horrifying. Hundreds of bodies piled together, so much blood pooled around them that the entire area appeared as red patches on satellite imagery. Visible from space, let that sink in. This isn't just a war. According to multiple human rights organizations, this is ethnic cleansing happening in real time. Over 150,000 people dead, more than 10 million displaced from their homes, and the world is largely silent. Today, we're diving deep into Sudan's forgotten war, what's happening, why it's happening, and why almost nobody is talking about it. Let's start with where Sudan actually is, because geography is crucial to understanding this crisis. Sudan sits in northeastern Africa, just below Egypt. To its west are Libya, Chad, and the Central African Republic. To its east is the Red Sea, that same body of water that separates Africa from the Middle East, with Saudi Arabia just across the water. This location makes Sudan incredibly strategic. It's literally a bridge between Africa and the Middle East, and it borders one of the world's most important shipping routes. Control Sudan, and you have significant influence over regional trade and geopolitics. The country has about 50 million people. Here's what makes this conflict so tragic. About 95% of the population is Muslim, specifically Sunni Muslim. So this isn't a religious war. This is about something that should matter even less: ethnicity. Roughly 70% of the population identifies as Arab Muslim. The other 30% are African tribes, groups like the Fur, Zagawa, Masalit, and Berti. And here's the heartbreaking part. Most of these African tribes are also Sunni Muslim. Same religion, different ethnic background. That's what people are being slaughtered for. Now here's the cruel irony. Sudan isn't poor in resources. It's actually Africa's third largest gold producer, extracting over 60,000 kilograms of gold every single year. To put that in perspective, India, with a population 28 times larger, produces less than 2,000 kilograms annually. So why is Sudan one of the poorest countries on earth? Because approximately 90% of that gold is illegally smuggled out of the country. The government sees almost no revenue from it. Instead, that gold money flows directly to armed groups and militias who use it to buy weapons, fund private armies, and perpetuate endless cycles of violence. This is what economists call the resource curse, when having valuable resources actually makes a country worse off because it fuels conflict rather than development. Sudan is a textbook case. Before this current war even started, the average annual income in Sudan was around $750 per year. That's about $2 per day. Now with the war, it's even worse. Sudan has likely become one of the absolute poorest countries on the planet. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to 1989. That's when General al-Bashir seized power in a military coup, overthrowing a democratically elected government. For the next 30 years, he ruled Sudan with an iron fist, presiding over economic catastrophe, multiple civil wars, and, most relevant to today, the Darfur Genocide. Yes, genocide, I'll get to that in a moment. By 2019, the Sudanese people had had enough. Massive protests erupted across the country demanding Bashir's removal and a return to democracy. But here's where things took a dark turn. Two military generals saw an opportunity. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of the Sudanese Armed Forces, and General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti, leader of a paramilitary group called the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. These two generals joined forces and overthrew Bashir in April 2019. The people celebrated in the streets. Finally, the dictator was gone. Democracy was coming, except it wasn't. The generals promised elections and formed a transitional sovereign council that was supposed to include both military and civilian representatives. But guess who became the head of this council? Al-Burhan. And who became his deputy? Dagalo. From the start, real power remained in military hands. Then in October 2021, al-Burhan pulled off his own coup, dissolving the transitional government entirely, declaring a state of emergency and seizing total control. Dagalo remained as his deputy. The two men who had promised democracy became the new dictators. But dictators rarely share power for long. By 2023, cracks appeared in the relationship between al-Burhan and Dagalo. The military wanted to integrate the RSF into the regular armed forces, which would have meant Dagalo losing his independent power base and control over lucrative gold mines. Dagalo refused. Tensions escalated. Both sides began positioning troops in strategic locations. Neither wanted to back down because the stakes were too high. Control of the country, control of gold mines worth billions, ultimate power. On April 15, 2023, it finally exploded into open warfare. The Sudanese armed forces had advantages: fighter jets, heavy artillery, tanks. But the RSF had been building its strength for years and had something else: ruthlessness learned from decades of ethnic violence. Within days, RSF forces seized large parts of Khartoum, the capital, including areas around the presidential palace. The country plunged into full-scale civil war. For the next 2 years, the fighting raged. By March 2025, the army managed to reclaim some control of Khartoum. But just 2 months later, in June, RSF captured vast territories near the Libya and Egypt borders. As of November 2025, the map tells a devastating story. RSF controls most of western Sudan, including the regions of Darfur and Kordofan. The army controls the north and east. The country is effectively split in two, and many analysts now predict that within a few years, we might witness Sudan fracturing into separate nations, just like South Sudan split off in 2011. But here's what makes this especially horrific. This isn't the first genocide in Darfur, and the same people are involved. Let's go back to 2003. In the Darfur region, non-Arab African tribes rebelled against Bashir's government, claiming they were systematically marginalized and discriminated against. Bashir's response was genocidal. He armed and mobilized Arab militias known as the Janjaweed, an Arabic word meaning devils on horseback. These militias swept through Darfur, massacring entire villages, burning homes, committing mass rape. By 2008, an estimated 300,000 people were dead and 2 million displaced. The United States officially called it genocide. The International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Bashir, making him the first sitting head of state ever indicted for genocide and crimes against humanity. And who was one of the leading commanders of those Janjaweed militias? Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. Hemedti, the current leader of the RSF. There are documented reports linking Dagalo to specific atrocities, including the November 2004 attack on Adwa village, where at least 126 people from the Fur tribe were slaughtered. In 2013, under international pressure, Bashir officially disbanded the Janjaweed and rebranded them as the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. New name, same people, same mentality. Dagalo became their commander. Now in 2024 and 2025, history is repeating with terrifying precision. RSF forces are once again targeting the same non-Arab African tribes in Darfur, the same groups they massacred 20 years ago. In May 2024, Human Rights Watch reported that ethnic cleansing of the Masalit tribe was underway in El Geneina, a city in West Darfur that has historically been Masalit homeland. They estimated several thousand people were killed between April and November 2023 alone. Then came Fasher in North Darfur. After an 18-month siege, RSF captured the city on October 26, 2025. Within just 3 days, over 1,500 people from the Fur, Zagawa, and Berti tribes were killed. This is where those satellite images come from, the ones showing blood visible from space. The RSF denies responsibility, claiming these are just tribal conflicts. But videos have surfaced on social media showing RSF fighters filming themselves standing over piles of bodies, celebrating, laughing. Meanwhile, the Sudanese army isn't innocent either. They've been accused of deliberately bombing civilian areas with heavy artillery and airstrikes, killing thousands of non-combatants, and al-Burhan himself. He was the overall military commander in Darfur during the 2003-2008 genocide. That's actually where he and Dagalo first worked together, crushing the rebellion. The men who once collaborated in genocide are now fighting each other, and ordinary Sudanese people are paying the price. This war has also become a proxy battleground for international powers. According to Amnesty International, both sides are receiving weapons from Russia, China, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates. The UAE faces the strongest accusations of supplying advanced Chinese-made drones to the RSF, allegedly in exchange for access to Sudan's gold. The UAE denies everything, but the evidence keeps mounting. Sudan's army even tried to sue the UAE at the International Court of Justice, though the case was dismissed on jurisdictional grounds. On the other side, Iran, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia are believed to support the Sudanese armed forces, with Iran allegedly providing drones and missiles. Russia's Wagner Group has been accused of supplying both sides at different times, playing all angles to maintain influence. When foreign powers pour weapons into a conflict for their own strategic interests, what starts as a civil war transforms into an internationalized nightmare that becomes almost impossible to stop. Let's talk about what this actually means for ordinary people. Over 150,000 dead, though the real number is likely much higher since many deaths in remote areas go unrecorded. More than 10 million people displaced. That's 20% of the entire population, forced from their homes. Hospitals, schools, water systems, electricity grids destroyed across vast areas of the country, and now famine. As of September 2025, approximately 3.75 million people in Darfur and Kordofan were on the brink of starvation. The UN World Food Programme warns that Sudan could soon face the largest famine in recent history. Roads and bridges have been destroyed, making aid delivery nearly impossible. Aid warehouses have been looted. Farmers can't safely plant crops. Entire harvest seasons lost. On top of starvation, cholera, dengue fever, and malaria are spreading unchecked. In many areas, more people are dying from hunger and disease than from bullets and bombs. The UN estimates that 30 million people, 60% of Sudan's population, need humanitarian assistance. The international community says it needs $4.2 billion to help them. As of now, donors have provided only about $1.45 billion, just over one-third of what's needed. For refugees who fled to neighboring countries, UNHCR needed $111 billion. They've received barely 35% of that. The world's worst humanitarian crisis. And the world is giving it scraps. So why isn't this front-page news everywhere? Why aren't we seeing constant coverage like we do for other conflicts? Because Sudan doesn't have the geopolitical visibility of Ukraine or Gaza. Because it's happening to poor, brown, and black people in Africa. Because there's no powerful lobby demanding action. Because it's complicated, and the media prefers simple narratives. That's why many now call this the forgotten war. But here's the thing, we don't have to forget. Recently, the RSF agreed to a 3-month humanitarian ceasefire proposed by the US, Egypt, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. The Sudanese army hasn't officially accepted yet, but there's a window. If enough international pressure builds, if enough people demand their governments take action, send aid, enforce accountability, this could be a turning point. Or it could be another Rwanda, another Darfur, another preventable genocide that we allowed to happen because we looked away. Right now, ethnic cleansing is happening in real time. Satellite images prove it, survivors testify to it. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is, will we care enough to stop it? Share this video. Talk about Sudan. Demand your government take action. Because the people of Sudan can't wait for the world to remember them. Their survival depends on us paying attention.